Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live, Tuesday night college football edition. Appreciate all you being here, and if you're watching on the replay, appreciate you being here as well. I got my guys with me, and we got a fun show tonight on the college football front. Tonight is the first reveal of the college football playoff rankings, which I think they did at a good time. They let about what is this? We're going into week 10 now, right?
Week 10, yeah. Somewhere
10.
around there. Yep. Week
Yeah,
10.
yeah, 10 or 11, my bad. But yeah, we're getting into it, so we really have a pretty good understanding of which team is what. And so now we're starting to get down to that nitty-gritty point where we can get this stuff lined up. But first things first, let me give a shout out to the channel members. Shout out my main man, Steve, king of the chat. What's going on, Steve? Baltimore, Bruce, it's not that serious. Coach T from the Be Ready Sports Podcast, main man, Nino, of course, Sneed got what you need, SMT Media Network, Chief Sid Bubba, shout out to you, shout out to the boys in Annapolis. All right, y'all, what we're going to do here, we are going to watch along with you. If you're a college football fan, this is what you're here for. We're going to watch along with you as they unleash these college football playoff rankings. Carlos, what's good, my man? How are you?
Doing good, doing great. Week 10 of college football. We're at the midway point. College football playoff rankings being revealed. Let's get it.
Right. In a way, like, I'm excited about this, but I'm also sad because this means we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season, man. You wait all summer, and the summer's so long, and then it seems like the season goes so fast, man. But
yeah,
I feel you. I'm definitely excited. Ryan Langford, my main man, former FBS, Fighting Illini, Indianapolis Colt, Ottawa Red Black, Winnipeg Blue Bomber, and Saskatchewan Rough Rider.
That's it.
What's going on, man? How you been?
Doing well, man. Glad to be here. Excited to see where these teams shape out today.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And what we got to do is we got to keep in mind as well, these are the initial rankings. So it shows how far some teams may need to come to reach their ideal positioning in these rankings, but they are still the initial. And there are a lot of things that got to shake out for a lot of these teams to start. So definitely looking forward to it. And as you can see, they're announcing now that the opening round of the tournament, the 12-team playoff tournament, will be December 19th. So super excited about that. But real quick, let's go ahead, give the spiel, and then we'll be right back and we'll get to it. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure you go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us a like, leave us a 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, make a note of it. The Format Podcast is live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern. And finally, if you're really and truly enjoying the content we're delivering you, make sure you hit that join button. There's going to be exclusive content here just for you. You. I know you see it. All right. Okay, so they've already started announcing. So at number 25, Tennessee, followed by Pittsburgh, who that's good that Pittsburgh is ranked. Notre Dame still has to play them, so that's good for the Irish. Washington. All right. What team are you excited to see besides your Illini where they shake out, Ryan?
Shoot, I don't know. I just like to see the first round just to kind of see what people do and what people say and how they move from there. But I'm excited to see kind of how the SEC pans out. SEC and Big Ten, kind of see how that looks.
For sure. And I think the big thing about that is the SEC still has a lot of, quote unquote carnage ahead of them because a lot of these teams still have to, face off. And that's going to have a lot to do with how the teams behind them and the teams ahead of them end up, sitting. For instance, A&M and Texas have a game at the end of the season. Georgia's coming up here pretty soon against Texas. That's another big one. Texas is rounding into form. OU has big games. So still a lot of stuff going on. The Egg Bowl, if Mississippi State pulls the upset, how does that affect Ole Miss? LSU and Bama coming up here. So there's a lot still to be decided, even though it's early. And I think that's really cool. Iowa being ranked at number 20 is interesting because if who is it? Is that Oregon plays Iowa at Iowa this weekend?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Oregon is probably going to be somewhere in that 5 to 10 range. So Iowa is a team surprisingly has been much better offensively this year, and obviously they're traditionally a stingy defensive team. They're very, very difficult. Ryan knows this. They're super difficult in Kinnick. So that's a tough out there. You can't ever look past those guys, man. Let me ask you, what makes Iowa so difficult to deal with? They don't necessarily have the elite skill guys. They don't have all the fancy 5 stars and this, that, and the third, but they're always tough to play, especially at home. What makes them so difficult, Ryan? Give us your thoughts as a former Big Ten guy.
Well, I think they're just the prototypical Big Ten team, right?
Yeah.
And usually a lot of those, they're usually well coached and they're well disciplined. And that type of stuff is key when it comes to, having a sound football team, right? So I think those are some of the qualities that are kind of in the brand of Big Ten schools, and especially, Iowa.
For sure. And you know what? To the point that you're making, Ryan, it is interesting because Iowa does play Big Ten football. They play stout, solid defense. They run the football extremely well. Don't make a whole lot of mistakes. Like you said, may not have the speed on the outside like the SEC guys, or the gigantic defensive linemen like the SEC guys, but always really good on the offensive line. Good running backs. So yeah, it is very interesting to see how certain traits kind of translate regionally among programs in these different conferences. That's something I always thought was interesting. Carlos, man, who's the team besides your Knowles that you're looking to see where they land?
Probably your team, Bruce. Notre Dame. An independent. The Irish lose the first 2 games against A&M, Miami, and then they win out every single game. So I'm pretty interested to see where Notre Dame lands, but during this top 25, Pitt, who only has 2 losses, not ranked in the AP poll in this rankings, very good for them. For Pitt, Iowa now ranked in the top 20. Yeah, man, very excited for these rankings. Pretty interesting. Utah now at 13. Okay.
So I really would have liked to see, to your point, I would have liked to see Navy ranked. Obviously, that's my bias. That would help Notre Dame with having another ranked opponent on the schedule. And they might have been ranked had they not, lost to North Texas this past weekend. Notre Dame has to play them this weekend. So, whatever. But it would have been good to have Navy, if you're Notre Dame, have Navy, a ranked Navy and a ranked Pitt. So this is very interesting. Okay, so now we're into the top 12, guys. We see Oklahoma at 7-2, and that's one of the best defenses in the country, quiet as kept. They're really good. They're really physical, have a great pass rush, and I think a lot of that has to do with Venables. Okay, so there's Texas at 11. And it's funny, Steve, Arch Manning is starting to come along a little bit. He had a really good game last week. Now, I know he's been bad most of the season, but could it be that he's rounding into shape at the right time? That is going to be interesting to see. So we got Texas at number 11, OU at number 12. I want to see how many SEC teams end up in this top 12. That's going to be interesting. And I kind of have a feeling, I'm not saying the SEC teams aren't good, but it's right back to the BCS team playoff. The committee has always liked to keep a bunch of SEC teams ranked high. So it's my personal feeling. I don't have anything to prove this, but I've always felt like they like to keep them ranked high. So when they lose to each other, they don't fall too far. The SEC can kind of still stay where they want to be. And there are the Irish sitting at number 10. Okay. That's kind of where I expected them to land. That's good. That's good. Now, if they win out, this is going to be interesting because there's going to be weird things that's going to happen in the ACC. Because what would happen if you had a Louisville, Virginia ACC championship game, right? So then you got to say a 10-2 Notre Dame who they're about to do a feature on right now. Say you had a 10, they're talking about it right now, the game against Miami. So what if you had a 10-2 Notre Dame and a 10-2 Miami? Miami gets the nod. Why? Because they beat them head to head, and that's only right? What happens on the field has to matter. So, oh my gosh, this is so this is so interesting. Jeez. So we got Notre Dame at number 10.
Yeah, that's not a bad spot though.
No, it's not. And the thing is, again, depending on, obviously they have to win out, and they know that. So let's say backs up against the wall, they continue to win the rest of the way, much like last season. And Oregon at 9, I think that's a bit low. But back to Notre Dame real quick. Notre Dame wins out, and you've got teams, above them in the rankings. Let's say Oregon goes down to Iowa, like we talked about this weekend at Kinnick, right? Obviously, they probably end up dropping out of the top 12. So now that's a spot Notre Dame can move up, providing they win. So, oh man, this is going to be super interesting the rest of the way. And I do love the fact that they've waited this deep into the season so that they could really get a solid take on who and what these teams are, man. How good do you guys think Oregon is?
They're solid on all three phases: offense, defense, special teams. They play with a lot of speed, but they can be beat, right? And I think that's one of those things that, like, once the team kind of puts that first L up there, the belief comes into their mind, like, okay, they're not all world. We got a chance. Wow.
Okay, so my bad. Go ahead, Carlos.
I believe Oregon's a very good team. And obviously Oregon's big, well, not so big win now is Penn State on the road,
Right.
And obviously Oregon lost to Indiana at home. So maybe not a lot of people have high opinions on Oregon because of that loss to Indiana, but they're a pretty tough team. Dan Lannon is a very great coach over there in Oregon. They're good. Number 9 and number 7 and 8.
Yeah, Big 12 representing. That's impressive. Real quick before we move on about Oregon, they are a very good team. I think there's something missing. I can't figure out what it is. I just feel like there's something missing with them, and I don't think they're going to win a championship this year. Still a very good team, though. Exactly, Steve. Exactly. There's something missing with Oregon. Absolutely. Because it's really weird. They talk about Dan Lanning's recruiting and trying to build the program like an SEC team, but physically they don't seem to have that, right? Because you saw them get manhandled and pushed around by Indiana. You saw it last year against Ohio State. They got ramrodded. Okay, there you go. So Steve says it's physicality, and he's probably right. Even though they're trying to build it that way, it seems like it's just not there, and I'm not sure what they can do. Okay, so Ole Miss at 6, Georgia at 5, Bama at 4. A&M's going to be at 3 here. Indiana's going to be at 2, and Ohio State is going to be at 1. I'm very confident in saying that. How good is Indiana, guys? I mean, how good is it? They look really, really good this year.
They look really good.
And they're for real, man. Yeah, man, they're for real. Ever since that huge win to Illinois, they put themselves on the map, man. Illinois, and then they go to Oregon and beat them. Like, Curtis Signetti.
If he can keep those guys focused, I'm so excited for the Big 12, Big 10 championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Ohio State. That's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, though, I did a segment on this on the show on Sunday. We heard all the stuff, in 2021 about Georgia having the historically great defense. Ohio State going into the game this past weekend was allowing 5.9 points per game and like 111 passing yards per game. Like that defense, Ohio State has always had athletes, Ryan, of course, you know this, but even with the athletes, then you add in a 3-time Super Bowl champion NFL defensive coordinator, bring in a scheme that most of these college quarterbacks can't deal with. Ohio State is a freaking nightmare, bro. So I think it's going to be amazing and exciting to see what Indiana is going to be able to draw up. Because I think, obviously, you have to play the games, but I think just looking ahead, crystal ball, we can assume that we're going to see Indiana versus Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. What would you guys think about that one?
Great game.
Yeah.
Great game. And I'd want to see how Indiana would be able to stack up against. I love the receiver DB matchups. So I think that will be exciting to watch.
Okay. Um,
How they look at
Okay.
this.
wow. So if the playoffs started today, Notre Dame and BYU, I
BYU.
love that game because
I
of the
do too.
physicality in the trenches.
Yeah,
I love that. That is,
that's
woo,
a
that's a
yeah.
that's a knockdown drag out. And it would be so interesting to see. Then you get a Notre Dame Indiana rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame beat Indiana in the very first 12-team college football playoff game last year at Notre Dame. And I'm sure Indiana would be licking its chops to get a rematch there. And you know what I like about Signetti? Even though it's not quote unquote sportsman, Signetti will run it up on you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
The
yeah.
Yeah,
goal,
Yep.
yeah, what was old Barry Switzer's line? Hang half 100 on him. Like Signetti
yeah.
likes to do that. He's going to run it up on you, and I've never had a problem with that. Real quick, Ryan, let me ask you about that. From the player's perspective, a lot of people think it's unsportsmanlike or whatever. My thought has always been, if you don't want somebody running up on you, stop them. What's your thought on that?
Yes, and no.
Okay,
Obviously, yeah, you want to stop them,
right.
and I do think there gets a point where you're not going to run it up the score,
Hmm.
but then there also gets a point where you put your backups in, your backups start dominating too. Then it's just like, hey,
Hmm.
we're not running up the score. Y'all just can't stop us, right? So I think that's a difference. But when it's you're up by huge amounts, you still got your ones in there, driving.
Hmm.
You can kind of pull the reins back. And I just think as a etiquette in the sports realm, but at the same time, we're competing out here. And
Right.
now that there's a playoff involved and wins
Hmm.
come into play, that
Hmm.
philosophy could be challenged because it could come down to, hey, we do got a team, we are dominating, and yes, in the past you would kind of put the brakes on, but hey, we
Hmm.
might need these points
For sure.
in later on in the season.
Hmm. Carlos, what's your thoughts on that? Running it up on people. You're not a football player, you're a basketball player, but if you're up by 20 with 5 minutes left, are you running kind of slow down offense, milking the clock, or you still out there, going full speed ahead?
You know, it's kind of in the middle. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I feel like basketball is different because
Mm,
and I feel like basketball I don't know, take it like more personal, I guess you can say. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're running up the score, because I feel like in today's world of basketball, like people are gonna get feel some type of way, if a
Hmm.
team does run up the score. So yeah, so I feel like in these type of days of basketball, yeah, you definitely gotta you gotta play your bench obviously and just like just
Hmm.
play the bench and not really just run it up.
But if the bench comes in and the bench is well coached and the bench has good players too, and they're doing their thing, like what?
Well, well, tell the other coach, hey, I don't get better.
There
If
you
the
go.
starters
Yeah.
and the bench is playing well, then hey, and the coach can't do nothing.
For sure, for sure. I'm with you
just
on
wasn't
that.
y'all day.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, guys. So now we have the very first top 25 out. Does anybody have any beefs with where these rankings fell? I'm going to pull it up on ESPN.com here. Does anybody have any beefs with where these rankings fell? Do you like what you saw? Where are you on that?
Um, I like the parody of it, especially from
Hmm.
Mhm.
20 to 25, Tennessee down at 25, especially after that loss to Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Pitt now in the rankings now representing the ACC, amazing.
Hmm.
Washington now ranked. Let's see here. Iowa, now they're ranked in top 20.
Hmm.
Very good defense. Yes, Iowa has a big game with Oregon, so that's gonna be big time game. Coach Tony's Trojans, USC in number 19. Um, Miami down to 18.
I didn't catch that. I missed that. USC is number 19.
19. Yep.
Okay, I guess that Michigan win is still holding weight for them, but that's good. I
Yep.
need them as an Irish fan to stay ranked, so we have
Yeah.
that ranked win on our. Okay, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Um, n- there's no group of five teams on here, so the highest
Mm,
rank would be Memphis. They will be number 12.
okay,
Mhm.
So yeah, so Memphis is the highest ranked group of five
I
team,
forgot about that. Yeah.
and they would take on Georgia if the playoffs started this weekend. So
Oof.
Mm.
Looks like
which
South Florida fell out of favor, huh?
Hey man, South Florida that lost to Memphis. Man,
Yeah,
that was a tough one. And Navy losing this week in North Texas, that was tough.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
Tulane, man. I was high on Tulane.
Hmm.
I was really wishing that they would be ranked, but then they blew it against UTSA. Like
Yeah, that's a
they
good program though. Tulane, like
Mm-hmm.
they've
yeah, they
been
are.
they've been building. That is a solid football program down there.
Yep,
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Ryan, did you have any dispute with the way this top 25 shook out, more specifically, obviously the top 12? And you know what? It just occurred to me your Illini have dropped out.
Dropped out. Yeah, we didn't handle business. Didn't
Mm,
handle business. Had some
okay.
losses, and then just
Yeah.
couldn't bounce back, and we can't
Right.
afford that.
No.
When we're rolling, we gotta keep rolling. But I
Hmm.
mean, no team can afford a loss, right?
No. No.
Um, but yeah, no, I like how it looks. I really like this Texas Tech team.
Yeah.
They're fun
Really
to
look.
watch. They play fast. The receivers can play well. So
Hmm.
um, I like seeing them, and now I like that. Now this is out.
Yeah.
How these teams respond, how these games pan out when people
Hmm.
now know, like, okay, now now the picture is getting a little bit clearer. It's not this far fetched
Yeah.
idea that the
Yeah.
playoffs are here. It's like, hey, we got projections now. So
Hmm. So let me ask you guys this. I'm going to ask both of you guys this, and I'm going to kind of give an example, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me give the example first. So in the military, right, in the army, you have different schools and different things you can try out for, right? If you get the recommendation from your commander, and obviously, the best of the best of the best of the best in the United States military is Delta Force, right? And when you go to Delta Force selection, you have long road marches, right? But unlike the other schools, they never tell you the time standard. So the goal is for you to push as hard as you can, as fast as you can, for as long as you can. And you don't know the time standard. So you just got to keep pushing, right? For instance,
mhm,
if they said you got a 20-mile ruck march with a 50-pound ruck and you have shoot, you know, you have 6 hours to complete it, just a random time,
mhm,
right? Then you know, okay, I can go fast here, I can slow down and rest a bit here as long as
mhm,
I'm in time. But with not knowing the standard, you have to constantly push. So now, with
mhm,
that example in mind, what I'm asking you is, do you think it would be better for college football if these rankings didn't come out until the very end, so nobody knew where they stood, and it made them really drive on all the way through to the end? You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
That would
Yeah.
be
I
better
get
for college
I
football.
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, I think to a certain extent you could
Hmm.
say that,
Hmm.
but I also feel like that's historically what college football has been until
Hmm.
we've now got this playoff system
Hmm.
where I mean, there's only 4 teams at the end of the day. It was like, yo, if you're going to make it in there, you got a chance to play for national championship. But I think now more so than ever, knowing that you're still actually in it rather than, hey,
Hmm.
we got our 6 wins, we're going to make it to a bowl game.
Right.
Hey, we'll see what's going on. I think this can add to this can be a good fuel for players, if that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I kind of like it, and obviously it gives us some excitement and some things to talk about. But I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was interesting from the perspective of, if you didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
you got no room to play around. You don't know what the committee's thinking. You got to go, quote unquote, balls to the wall all season
Mm-hmm.
long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carlos, what
Mm-hmm.
are your thoughts on that, man?
So okay, so what you're saying, Bruce? So no AP rankings, no college football rankings, just literally just blind rankings, like the
Mm-hmm.
whole season. No AP,
Mm-hmm.
no college football playoff.
Right.
Okay, it's very interesting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, I get your point. It would be very good for well, I guess all right for college football because the fans want to know where their team's ranked, and
Right. Right.
and us fans want to find out what's the game of the week, and we can't really find out who's the game of the week.
Ah, that's a great point.
Yeah, so and we would basically have to go off the records. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
and like for example, if the game of the weekend was Washington 8-0 and Wisconsin 8-0, then that'll be the
Right.
game of the weekend, and we
Mm-hmm.
and we don't, and we wouldn't know the rankings. So
That's
so
true. Great
yeah,
point.
so I'll probably take
Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind
And
of wouldn't
also
know.
too,
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I just think more as a player, we know it's a season, but we're looking at it on a weekly basis
For sure.
too. So, Illinois beat Rutgers last week. I think they got
Mm-hmm.
to bye this week. Play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm drawing a blank on who's next, but they're only focused on that game. You're thinking 1-0. You're trying to get to the just one game at a time, and not looking too far ahead. And that's a great
Yeah,
point by Carlos about, this stuff it helps the fans in a sense. It helps people
sure.
really know what's really going on, and adds to it.
No, that's a great point. So just looking at the way the bracket is set up right now, if the season ended today, and this is what I talk about, where they have the SEC team set, you would have what is it? You'd have 4 SEC teams in the quarterfinal, pretty much guaranteeing 2 in the semis. You see what I'm saying? Like it's always like they're always trying to set something in place for the SEC. Like it's really annoying with that. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, the SEC has very good teams. I'm not saying they don't. They play great football down here. I'm not saying they don't, but it always seems like something is set up to give them the leg up to be in that competitive position. And I'm like, like, and you tell, there's no way you can tell me they don't consider that when they're putting these brackets together. And realistically, if I'm honest, they're looking at Notre Dame's brand recognition as well when they're talking about hoping that Notre Dame gets into the playoffs, right? I mean, obviously they're not saying that publicly, but they know Notre Dame TV games are always among the most viewed every year. They're among the most attended every year, right? Most teams, when Notre Dame comes to town in the road game, that's the sellout. You know what I mean? So the biggest sellout of the year. So they understand Notre Dame's name value and brand recognition as well. Because this is not just, as we know, about what happens on the field. This is a money piece as well. You guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the playoffs gonna have 4 to 5 SEC teams. Obviously, they're gonna have on the current bracket that they currently have 5 SEC teams: Alabama, A&M, Georgia, Texas, Ole
Mm-hmm.
Miss. So yeah, the playoffs gonna definitely try and favor a little bit of the SEC because SEC is the one of the best conferences in
For
college
sure.
football.
For
So
sure.
yeah, I think the play will definitely
Mm-hmm.
favor the SEC.
Yeah. It's just funny how the bracket as currently constructed. And again, we got a lot of time and a lot of games left to see how it shakes out. But the way the bracket is right now, you would likely have, 2 out of 4 in the national semifinals coming from that conference. And it's like, come on, man. This is what we're doing. We're really doing this. But
Are they just putting them in, or are these teams good football teams?
no, they're very good football teams, but it's where they're positioned to set it up that way when you see who wins and who moves on. It's the positioning, not it's the positioning, not that they aren't good teams. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
and we got a wonderful Notre Dame hater in the chat, but that's okay. These guys,
Um,
these other guys in the chat to take care of him, so I'm not worried about it. But
um,
yeah, lot of time left, and can't wait to see how it all plays out and see
Yeah.
who does what in the SEC. Because right now, if you look right now, they're showing the bracket again. So you'll likely have, if it was today, you'd have a Georgia Alabama quarterfinals, an A&M Ole Miss quarterfinal, right? So what does that do? That puts in the semis, that puts 2 SEC teams right there. It's like it's by design, you know. So, but yeah, this is good though, man. This is good, and the good thing is we've got this every Tuesday night going forward. But this is just this is the opening one, and I kind of like it. And Armand made a great point in the chat. He says they shouldn't have preseason rankings, and these should be the first rankings of the year. And I agree because a lot of times too,
Yep.
you get the bias in your brain about where teams are ranked in preseason. And okay, they did this and they did that, and they were ranked high. Maybe I shouldn't drop them too far. No, don't rank them. Let them play it all out and figure it out until we get to this point. Then you can rank them. But to Carlos's point that he made earlier, and it was a brilliant point, for the fan experience, it's like, okay, which which are the most important games I should be looking at, you know? And a lot of times rankings tell us that. And then also these teams, you can look at it like I said, like the teams got to know, okay, we just got to play because we don't know what's what. We don't know where we stand. And then, but they also, the teams got to look at it and say, okay, well, you know, we're number 10 and we're playing number 3 this week. You know, a win against number 3 could be huge. You know what I'm saying? So I totally see both sides of the argument, but I did think it was going to be interesting. Junior says, that's Baltimore Bruce. Let's go Indiana. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that means. Let's go Indiana. Oh, so he picked Indiana beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying it's unlikely because defense wins championships. And Ohio State's defense is legendary. As of right now, it's already better than the Georgia defense that, you know, that they basically, you know, heaped all amounts of praise on 4 years ago. But this Ohio State defense is, they're insane.
Yeah, they are good.
Yeah.
But again,
if anybody could take them down, I think it's Indiana.
Yeah, man.
I do. I think they could. Their receivers can match up with them, and they got a run game that can catch them off balance. Because if you can mix up the play calls where you don't know what's going on, they got a shot. They got a shot. And then back to the preseason poll stuff. That's all the stuff they're going off of the year before. So like that week 2 preseason poll, it's like, yo, you're going off of the last 3 games of the season,
right?
The whole year before. Half those players are gone. It's a completely different team this year.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt.
I think it would be cool if this was the first now, or not the first, but you know, there was no true rankings till later on, till we get in the playoff picture.
Right. Real quick, just want to take a quick second, guys. If you're here, thanks so much for being here, joining us on the show. Appreciate it. We got my main man, Carlos, here, and we have, of course, former FBS, NFL, and CFL wide receiver, kick return specialist, Ryan Langford. Thank them for joining us. But also, make sure you guys like, subscribe. After this is over, hype the video if you liked it. And if you're here, we know that you talk sports with other people in your circle. Share the show with them. Get them to subscribe too, man. We are almost there to 7,000 subscribers. We're working hard. We're putting it together. And when we get to 10,000, which we're a little ways off from that, but when we hit 10,000, we are going to start a Patreon where we can really, go in, say some amazing things. Oh, there's Jeremiah Love. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Coincidence. I love it. Jeremiah Love is special, man. That's a heck of a football player. Okay, so based on where the brackets are right now, and you can see them on your screen, if the playoffs started today, which game would you think is the best matchup, and which would you be most excited to see?
Texas Tech, Oregon. I think that would be exciting.
I think so too. I was about to say I'm taking Notre Dame out of it. Texas Tech, Oregon would be a hell of a game. Yeah.
Interesting.
And then Virginia, Ole Miss might be exciting too, because if Virginia can, if it turns out to be a shootout, it's one of those games.
Yeah.
But definitely Texas Tech, Oregon.
I like that.
Hopefully Memphis can just pull up some magic.
They're not pulling up any magic.
That'd be cool.
You got to play the games, no doubt, but I think it's highly unlikely.
That'd be cool to see.
Yeah. Carlos, if the bracket stayed exactly how it was and the tournament was starting today, the playoff, which game would you be most excited to see in the first round?
I'm probably gonna be most excited about BYU Notre Dame, because you know Notre Dame got to go to BYU. BYU currently undefeated, 8-0.
Right.
You know, going up against a Notre Dame team who's gonna be very hungry going into this, going on the road to BYU. You know, very interesting. You know, I think the country's gonna watch BYU. Like, why are they good? Because I feel like a lot of people on the East Coast don't really know much about BYU. And all they see is, you know, the record 8-0, and people are like, oh, what's the hype about? You know, so I feel like that matchup is going to be really interesting. And then the winner of that is going to face Indiana. So,
Indiana's waiting for them. Absolutely. I was just about to mention this. BYU, I think they smacked around Utah when they played them in their holy war. You know, so BYU is a very good team, well coached, physical, always physical. Really good in the trenches. A lot of big defensive linemen and O linemen, and they could run the ball. So, yeah, BYU, I think, plays very similarly to how Notre Dame likes to play in terms of really, getting physical in the trenches, trying to run the ball, get after you and stop the run. Like they do it the right way. Build it from the inside out, run the ball, stop the run. Doesn't always have to be pretty. Go get it. But I think the difference in a game like that could be the fact that Notre Dame has an elite secondary. They are leading the country in interceptions. They have 16 interceptions already, and that's through week 9. So through the first 9 weeks, they have 16 interceptions, and that's not getting any in the first 3 games, and then they just went off. So that's a very opportunistic defense on the back end that will, get takeaways. So Ryan, let me ask you this, right? Matter of fact, thank you. I just thought about that. So Benjamin Morrison, arguably, one of the best cover corners in college football, he left, goes to the NFL. Xavier Watts, guy who led the league and led the country in interceptions over the not the past 2 years, the 2 out of the previous 3 years. So last year and the year prior, 13 interceptions, Xavier Watts. Before this season started, I was concerned about losing that lack of production on the back end. So my question for you, Ryan, would be, the way Notre Dame is consistently intercepting the football, is that something that can be coached? Is that something schematic? Or is that just they're recruiting guys with good hands in that defensive backfield?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. One, schematically, knowing your assignment, being in situations where you can make plays on the ball.
Okay.
Coaching, and I think coaching falls into that scheme when you understand why we're running a certain play and how our play beats what the offense is running. When you understand that concept and that strategy of football, that unlocks a new level for you. And then as a player, a DB, there's drills and things that you can do to improve your hands and improve your catching, right? So, you have guys that do that. Plus, they've got a history of bringing guys into the league who are good defensive backs. So hopefully those tendencies have been taught to the players that are underneath them so that they're learning and teaching the other guys. So I think all of it can come together. You got DBs getting on the drugs machines just as much as receivers on the drugs machines. You got guys that all that type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, the DBs don't get on the drug machines that much, but the ones who do are usually the ones who can catch the ball a lot better.
Gotcha.
And that can increase interceptions because you'll see there's a lot of times that DBs can get their hands on the ball, but it's like, man, like, why didn't you catch that? Well, those why didn't you catch that? Those are interceptions when it comes to Notre Dame's defense.
Nice. Okay. Okay, so they're talking about BYU, Texas Tech. I think that's this weekend.
Yes.
So you know what? We've been spending a lot of time talking about the teams in the top 12. Let's go down a little bit. Talk about the teams just out in the rest of the top 25 and what you think their opportunities are. We mentioned 13 Utah, 14 Virginia. Is that right? Am I looking at this right?
Yeah, 14 Virginia. Yep.
Okay, cool. 15 Louisville, 16 Vanderbilt. But Vanderbilt, sneaky good team there. Good defense, runs the ball. Diego Pavia, one of the better quarterbacks in the country, really doing his thing. And that is a non-traditional SEC power that's playing really good ball in the SEC. And I want to give shout out to former Notre Dame defensive coordinator, Vanderbilt alum, and now Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee, who is just doing a tremendous job down there. He's really kind of built this thing into something that's really rocking and rolling at 7-2. And these are teams that, if there's some chaos above them, they have an opportunity to sneak into the playoffs on the back end. So we mentioned Georgia Tech at number 17, the U at number 18. Yeah. And I know there's going to be some Miami fans who are very upset about the fact that Notre Dame is at number 10, Miami's at number 18 when there was a clear winner in that head-to-head matchup. And that, I got to be objective, that has to matter. So even if you don't want Miami high enough to be in the top 12, well, realistically, maybe Notre Dame should be lower because Miami beat them. So that's kind of weird. But I guess at that point, you're examining the losses. Who has the worst losses, right? Notre Dame has a 1-point loss to number 3 A&M. They have a 3-point loss to Miami, right? So you're looking at where are the losses, who has the worst losses. So I guess that plays a role. Number 19 USC. if they continue to win, who knows what can happen. I think they're out of the running for a Big Ten championship, but who knows what they could do, down the stretch if they continue to kind of play well, because that is a very good team. Again, we talked about number 20 Iowa, who's got a chance to really cause some trouble if they can pull that upset over Oregon this weekend at Kinnick. So that could be something we really need to keep an eye on. Number 21 Michigan, who has another chance to really raise hell. Why? Because at the end of the year, of course, they've got that big one against Ohio State. I don't think they're going to beat them this year, but that you never know.
You never know, right?
Right. We didn't
probably won't beat them, but yeah, it's still
did
there.
we expect them to beat them last year?
Nope.
Right, but see, last year, Sharon Moore and Michigan goaded Ryan Day into trying to play in a phone booth. That's not Ohio State's strength. It takes your strength away, right? That's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. So, Mizzou, another quality SEC team. Washington, quality Big Ten team. Pitt, we talked about them. Now, they'll probably end up dropping out after Notre Dame beats them. And then, of course, Tennessee at number 25. So you still got a lot of moving parts here, man. Guys, I don't know if you could tell. I'm excited. I am excited.
Yeah, I
love
too.
this stuff. I love college football. And I'm going to be consuming a ton of college football podcasts and media tomorrow. It's going to be crazy. This is good stuff. Ryan, man, do you ever wish that when you played, they had a 12-team playoff like this and you had this opportunity? Or were you good with the way the setup during your time?
Yeah, I do. I think it would have been cool to see what could have potentially happened. Because our biggest goal was, all right, you want to win a Big Ten championship. Once it got to the point that you weren't able to win a Big Ten championship, it was like, hey, well, let's just make sure we playing somewhere warm. Like, let's make sure we got a good bowl game. So let's keep winning. So you're not going up to Detroit. And it's like, man, we don't want to be in Detroit right now. It's freezing. I'm like, let's make sure we're going to a good bowl game. So that was really the goal. But now knowing that you have the potential to maybe make the playoffs and still go to a bowl game, a good bowl game, I think that's cool.
Let me ask you this, Carlos. You are a Florida State guy.
Yes.
What are the games left on your schedule that can possibly screw something up for your rivals? Obviously, Florida's not really in the mix, but talk to me about some of that. Have you looked at your schedule the rest of the way to see, okay, who can we ruin it for since we're no longer in the hunt?
Well, we don't play any ranked teams, so unfortunately, we can't really spoil, I guess you can say, but we do play Clemson on the road coming up next. We got Virginia Tech coming up at home, and then we got NC State and Raleigh, so that's a tricky game, and then on the road to Florida. So not really much, spoilers in regards to ranked teams.
Okay.
But, probably if Florida State can win now and make a bowl game, and I guess the Seminoles can end on a high note, I guess you can say.
No doubt. I think sometimes that's one of the things you look at where, okay, your team is out of running for a playoff berth or a national championship, but we can screw it up for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And that sounds corny, but that's also part of the fun of this thing and the fun of sports. I love that. Before we get out of here, guys, let's talk real quick. I want to get your thoughts on Arch Manning, who is a guy who has really been much maligned over the course of the season, had a lot of difficulties, but probably had his best game, I think it's fair to say, this past week against a very good Vanderbilt team. 25 of 33, 328 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks for Arch Manning. Really good game for him. Do you see that as a blip? Do you think maybe he's starting to kind of come around? And I'm not saying he's anywhere near being what they expected him to be, but what are your thoughts on that? Because realistically, he hasn't been terrible for a first-year starter. I think the bigger thing is for all the hype that he got, it's like, oh, this guy sucks,
That's what
2,100
it's come
passing
down
yards,
to,
18 touchdowns, 6 picks, and a QBR of 63, which is very solid, right? So what are you guys' thoughts on Arch Manning?
Like you said, I think it comes down to not living up to the quote unquote hype because of his name, right? Because he's not playing terrible football, but he's not playing he's a Manning football either,
right.
But I think that this recent game that he had is a blip in a good way. It's a flash of who he could be consistently,
Okay.
and hopefully he can evolve into that and continue to get better, because he has time to improve his game, get comfortable,
Right.
and be the player that everyone is expecting him to be today, right? So again, I give patience to a lot of players just because I can sympathize with them. And I know that it's a tough game, but he can play.
Yeah.
And he showed that this past week, and I'm confident that he will continue to show it. Now, will it be enough to put some wins in the bucket for Texas? We'll see. But he has
There's
the
a lot of
ability to
talent
be a
on that
great
team, as you know.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And real quick before I get your thoughts on Archman and Carlos,
Yeah.
let's also keep in mind the prior game against Mississippi State. He's 29 for 46 for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. And if we go back one further, let's see what he did against Kentucky. Let's see. Against Kentucky. Okay, this was bad. 12 of 27 for 132 yards. So clearly they keyed in on him in that game. That looked like that was a defensive struggle more so. And finally, let's get back to the Red River rivalry or shootout, whatever you want to call it, against Oklahoma.
If I remember, Kentucky was amped.
Yeah,
they were ready.
Right. And then he played solid against Oklahoma, 21 to 27, buck 66, 1 touchdown. So I don't think he's been as bad as a lot of people think. I really think that a big part of that was the hype. But yeah, Carlos, man, your thoughts on Arch Manning?
Yeah, I feel like the problem with Arch was the hype. Obviously coming into this year, Heisman hype. Manning, he's gonna be, the next Ray at Texas. He kind of reminds me of a plane, like an airplane. Like, do you know how like on airplanes, if you go up, like the nose stays up, the airplane stalls. So that kind of reminded me of Arch. It went down, down, down. But now I feel like he's controlled on a plane. He's just cruising. Just take what, just you know, just take what the defense is giving you. Basically,
Yeah.
Arch is doing that. He has some pretty tough games coming up. He got to go to Georgia, against Arkansas, and then obviously the rivalry with A&M. So yeah, man. I feel like if Arch can, just stay chill, take what the defense is giving him, he's gonna do all right.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I think he's got a real opportunity to have big game specifically against Georgia, right? I'm going to leave it there because Georgia is a team that this is not the same level of Georgia defense. They've been giving up a lot of points and they've been, pulling games out, nail biters at the end of these things. So this is not the same Georgia defense that can completely strap you down, right? And so Arch Manning has an opportunity to not only put up big numbers to make a statement in a win against a very quality team, so I'm looking forward to that. It could end up being a shootout with Gunnar Stockton, right? Gunnar Stockton, despite what some people want to say, is and has been a very good player. And in case some people want to take shots at Gunnar Stockton to, downgrade what some other teams did in beating Georgia last season, they might want to keep in mind that Gunnar Stockton broke all of Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson's Georgia State high school records. That's not something you can do if you're a bum. Georgia is one of those states in high school football, and those are some big-time NFL names at quarterback, and he broke those guys' records. So Gunnar Stockton he's not trash, right? So, we got to keep stuff in mind and be objective. But, when some people hate teams just because, they'll just make up things and say things. So, me, I'm always about setting the record straight. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I think Arch definitely has an opportunity to make a big statement about who he is and what he's capable of against Georgia. So looking forward to that. And he's got to finish. I don't know if they're at A&M or if A&M is in Austin for, let's see.
That game's in Austin.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
It's in Austin. That helps.
Yeah, it does. That's going to be another one because A&M is another one of the best defenses in the country. By the way, shout out Mike Elko, former Notre Dame defensive coordinator, head coach of the Aggies. So shout him out, man.
Yeah.
These former Notre Dame decos are doing their thing in college football. Clark Lee and now Mike Elko. So yeah, definitely good to see. And I'm looking forward to see what Arch Manning does the rest of the way. And great analysis, Carlos, and pointing out that he's got the tough schedule the rest of the way. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Okay, guys, we can wrap it up here. Is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Now we're good. We left it all on these podcasts.
No doubt.
Sure.
All right. Hey, fellas, thank you so much for joining me, man. Obviously, Carlos, I appreciate you. I love your insight. Ryan, thank you so much for giving us that, that perspective of someone who's been there and done it. We can watch it all we want on the TV and we can assume we know what we're talking about, but having you here who can actually speak to it for real, man, that's why we value you so much. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Man.
Absolutely. And if you guys are watching, make sure you like, subscribe, hype the video or hype another video on the channel. We really appreciate that. All that stuff really helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, help more sports fans find us. And again, we know if you're watching that you are the type who has these discussions in your circle. Please share the show with your people. Let's get more people on it and let's help the Format Podcast community to grow. All right, we are going to leave this right here. Hey, appreciate you, Jay Nolan. Appreciate you, Jairus Bear. All of y'all, thanks so much for being here. Steve, king of the chat, appreciate you. Baltimore Bruce, thank you. Armand, what up? But thanks, everybody. We out. Peace.